Hi, today's session you're going to be doing a little bit of work around cyberbullying, and as part of that, you're going to fill in a survey to tell us about your experiences. Now, there's a few reasons for doing this. One, we want to know what's happening so that we can make sure that the school has the systems in place to deal with things like cyberbullying. We also want to make sure that we're giving you useful information in assemblies and things like that, and that you're happy with the educational side of things that we're giving you around this aspect of e-safety. Now, this video is about the acceptable use policy and your rights and responsibilities, which you've all agreed to when you started this school. So I'm just going to put on the screen the acceptable use policy. You signed this in year 7 and so did your parents, and every year you actually accept this when you use a computer system. So a little message pops up, you might remember it, that asks you to accept the acceptable user agreement again in order to use our school systems and have a login and things like that. Now, this one might look a little bit different to the one you signed in year 7 because the format has changed over the years, but it's exactly the same content. And I'm just going to point out the relevant bits. So I start off with the bits in green here. I will act as I expect others to act towards me. It's pretty simple, this. When you're using anything online, whether it's social media, whether it's school systems like email or Frog or the blog or Google Docs, it's making sure that we treat other people with respect. So the first bullet point here, I will respect others. And this is about their work and their property and things like that. So you're not going to access anyone else's computer, okay? The second one down is more about the cyberbullying side of things. So I will be polite and responsible when I communicate with others. I will not use strong, aggressive, or inappropriate language, and I appreciate that others may have different opinions. We're not telling you that you're not allowed to disagree with people, because that's actually quite a useful thing sometimes, to have debate and talk to people and share your opinions and not be scared to share your ideas. We don't mind any of that. But what you need to make sure is that when you're doing things like that, you're being polite to people. You're not saying anything hurtful. And if you do disagree with people and it's about schoolwork, for example, make sure that you focus on the work itself and the opinion that you have. And don't make it personal. Don't focus on the person and tell them that they're wrong. They just have a different opinion or a different outlook to you. And that's absolutely fine. So be polite, be responsible. It goes without saying that you don't say anything hurtful to people online. That's not what we want. We don't want to do that in person. We want a place where everybody's nice to each other, and it should be exactly the same when you're using online spaces. The next bullet point is about images or videos or sounds. You shouldn't be taking any images or videos or sounds of other people without their permission. So if you're doing something for schoolwork and you've agreed it with people, that's fine. By all means, take photographs, include them in your work where you've got permission from your teacher and from the person who you're photographing to do so. But never ever do that without permission. Now, if I scroll down to the next page, this bit here is really important. I understand that I am responsible for my actions both in and out of school. So we actually have the right to take action against you, even if something happens outside of the school walls. So if you're using school systems and you use it in the wrong way and it happens outside of school, we can still put consequences in place for those things, and we will do that. Likewise, if you're communicating with somebody who was part of this school outside, even if it's on your own social media account, and we find out and that's inappropriate and it's hurtful, we will also take action for things like that. So it's really important that you're aware of that. And underneath, the type of consequences that you could face, if you fail to comply with this agreement, then you could be subject to disciplinary action. So this is things like losing your access to the school network or the internet. Could be a detention. It could be more severe than that, depending on what it is that you've done and how hurtful it is. So it could be internal exclusion. We may well get in touch with parents and show them the types of things that you've been doing online. And if it's illegal activities, in extreme cases, we could even contact the police. Now, none of this has been said to say that we think that people are going to abuse our systems. I'm actually, on the whole, usually very, very impressed with all students in this school. We tend to find that people use the systems responsibly, that people are nice to each other. I'm often very impressed with the fact that when people do get messages that are inappropriate or hurtful, they send them straight on to a teacher so they can be dealt with. That is responsible behaviour. I also see a lot of people calling people out on their bad behaviour. So I've seen people reply to people who are saying hurtful things online to other people and say that's not appropriate. And they make it clear that they don't accept that behaviour. That is exactly what we want. We don't want to tolerate this type of behaviour in our community. So calling people out on it, passing it on, making sure that it's dealt with is really important. Now, a couple of other bits, if I just go up to this bit in yellow here, I'll start off with this one, sorry. I will immediately report any unpleasant or inappropriate material or messages or anything that makes me feel uncomfortable when I see it online. So don't be scared to pass things on. That's what we want you to do. In fact, that's what you've said when you agreed to this policy that you would do. So if somebody sends you something and it's not nice, send it on to a teacher. We will then be able to deal with that. And I understand that the Academy will monitor the use of the systems, devices, and digital communications. I kind of get that word out, but you know the one I mean, communications. So what that means is we do actually watch what's happening on all of the different tools that we use. Things like Frog on the blog, things like Vox, where people put replies, our email systems, Google Docs. We occasionally monitor some of the things that people are doing on there. And we actually have special tools that pick up inappropriate words and terms and things like that that we don't think people should be using. So quite regularly, we will get alerts telling us that certain things have been done online. And we follow up with that by looking at those emails. And obviously, if somebody shares something with us and tells us that something's been used inappropriately, we'll follow up on that. Remember when you copy in groups, so let's say that you send an email to your class using the class code in our emails. The teacher of that class is also a part of that class group. So the teacher is going to see whatever you have written to the class. And again, if it's inappropriate, action will be taken and that will be sent on to the relevant people. And that's really all I want to go through. This is all common sense. It's about being respectful. It's about thinking about what you do online. And hopefully that's made your responsibilities clear to you. And we can all move forward and make sure that the online spaces that we use, whether it's in school or at home, are safe and pleasant places to be. Thank you for listening.